Okay, so let's be honest.
Uh-huh.
Conflict is like a constant companion for Scrum Masters.
It really is. You're dealing with so many different things.
Passionate people, deadlines,
Hmm.
changing priorities. It's
Exactly.
bound to happen. But
Yeah.
what if, like, instead of dreading it,
Yeah.
we could actually use it
Right.
to make the teams better?
Absolutely.
That's kind of what we're looking at today
That's right.
with this guide we have on conflict resolution in Scrum.
I love this guide.
Yeah, it's pretty in-depth.
Yeah, and it takes a really interesting perspective.
Okay.
It's all about reframing conflict as this opportunity for growth and innovation.
Okay, so not just like a
Not a negative.
negative roadblock.
Right, exactly. A
Yeah.
chance to uncover
Yeah.
hidden problems
Okay.
and refine processes
Okay.
to build a stronger and more resilient team.
So where do we even start with that?
Well, it all begins with understanding what's causing it.
Okay, so not just like putting a Band-Aid on it.
Yeah, exactly. We need to dig deeper, uncover the root of the conflict.
This makes me think of the example
Uh-huh.
in the guide about the developer and the tester
Oh, that's a perfect one.
disagreeing about the severity
Yeah.
of the defect.
Right, and on the surface, it may seem
Simple.
simple, right, like
Right.
a technical disagreement.
Yeah.
But if you look closer,
Okay.
it might be about misaligned acceptance criteria
Right.
or even tensions from, unclear communication.
Oh, okay. So it's bigger than.
It's always bigger than it seems on the surface.
Okay, so instead of just like jumping into the technical debate,
Yes.
we got to zoom out.
Yes, absolutely.
And this is where like that neutrality piece
Yes.
comes in,
That's exactly right.
which the guide talks about a lot.
The guide stresses this a lot because as a Scrum Master,
Right.
you are not there to judge. You are not a referee.
Okay.
You're there to help everyone feel heard and respected.
But isn't that hard?
It can be.
Especially when we're all human.
Right.
Yeah.
You get invested in the project.
Yeah. And you have opinions.
Right.
Right. So it's a skill. It really is. It takes practice.
Okay.
But the guide has some really helpful techniques
Okay.
for achieving and maintaining neutrality.
Okay.
Active listening is a big one.
Yeah.
And not just, nodding along like, oh.
Right.
It means really engaging with what the other person is saying,
Okay.
paying attention to their body language too,
Uh-huh.
and reflecting their message back
Okay.
to make sure you really understand.
Oh, so it's like
Yeah.
saying, okay, I'm going to put my thoughts aside for a second
Yeah, put your judgment aside.
and really try to see this from where you are.
Exactly. Walk in their shoes.
Yeah.
And when people feel truly heard and understood,
Yeah.
it can really de-escalate things.
Yes.
And it paves the way for a collaborative approach.
That reminds me of this one time I had two team members who were always like,
Butting heads about coding styles.
I've been there.
It was like
Right.
never-ending
Right.
tabs versus spaces.
Oh, yeah. Classic.
But once I got them to really hear each other out
Right.
and air their grievances,
Yeah.
they actually agreed on a style guide that worked.
I love that.
So,
That's a great example of
Yeah.
how active listening can completely change the dynamic.
yeah,
It becomes problem solving
right.
instead of a battle of wills.
And that goes back to that idea of psychological safety.
It does, which the guide emphasizes as well.
Right.
Team members need to feel safe
Okay.
to express concerns
Okay.
without fear of judgment.
So it's not just about listening,
Right.
but creating a culture where they can speak up,
Exactly.
even if it's disagreeing.
Yes, even if they disagree with the majority.
Okay, and that's essential
It is.
for open communication,
Absolutely.
which the guide says is like the foundation of resolving conflict.
The foundation, yes.
Okay, so then how do we encourage
Yeah.
that open communication?
Well, we can't just tell them to do it.
Right, exactly.
So the guide gives us some practical techniques.
Okay.
Like using open-ended questions.
What's the difference between like a
Yeah.
closed-ended question and an open-ended one?
Okay, so let's say a team member is frustrated.
Uh-huh.
You could ask, is this task blocking you?
Right.
But that's going to be a yes or no.
Yeah.
Instead, try what challenges are you encountering?
Oh.
Or what support do you need?
Okay.
That's going to invite
Yeah.
more explanation and articulation.
So it's like you're saying,
Yeah,
tell me your story.
exactly. Tell me your
Not
story.
just your conclusion.
Right. And by listening to that story,
Right.
we get a much better understanding.
And then we can find solutions.
Exactly.
I feel like I'm going to end up playing therapist
It can feel that way
sometime.
because there is that element.
Okay.
And the guide talks about emotional intelligence. As a Scrum Master, We need to be aware of our emotions, but also everyone else's.
Okay.
How are they feeling? What are their needs?
Okay, so I got to check my own baggage
Yes. Yeah.
before I go in. That's right.
Exactly, because that understanding can
Uh-huh.
help you navigate the conflict so much better.
Okay, so we've got like understanding the root cause,
Right.
staying neutral to communication,
Yeah.
and then emotional intelligence.
Absolutely.
It's like a
That's
whole
a
framework.
framework for healthy conflict resolution.
But sometimes it's not even a big argument.
Right.
It's more,
the subtle.
yeah, like passive aggressive or just
Yes.
lack of collaboration.
You're absolutely right. Conflict can show up in many forms.
Yeah.
And it's our job as Scrum Masters
Okay.
to recognize those
Okay.
and adapt how we approach them.
So like a conflict chameleon.
Exactly. We've got to be flexible.
Okay.
And that's where our knowledge of Scrum comes in.
Okay, right. Because we're not
Right.
just mediators.
We are also guardians of the Scrum framework.
Yeah.
And those core values,
Okay.
respect, openness, commitment, all of them,
Yeah, yeah.
they give us a foundation
Okay.
for navigating conflict in a healthy way.
So how do we like use those values
Yeah.
practically?
Right, right.
Like it's easy to just say be respectful,
It is, yeah.
but how do you actually do that?
Well, let's say we have two team members
Mm-hmm.
in a heated debate about a design.
Yeah.
You can show respect by listening
Uh-huh.
to each person without interrupting
Right.
or dismissing their ideas,
Okay.
even if you disagree.
Right, right.
You can also encourage them to frame things respectfully,
Right.
focus on the issue,
Not each other?
not on attacking each
All
other.
right. Okay, so set the tone.
Set the tone. Exactly.
Yeah.
And by modeling that,
Okay.
you're not just managing that conflict,
Right.
you're influencing how they interact later on.
I like that.
Yeah, you're creating a ripple effect. It's like we're building that team culture.
Yes.
Okay, so what about those other values?
Well, openness
Yeah.
is about being receptive
Okay,
to different viewpoints
okay.
and being willing to challenge your own assumptions.
Okay, so like not just my way or the highway.
No, exactly.
Eh.
Commitment
Yeah,
is about being accountable
okay.
to the agreements we make.
Right, right. And courage.
Yeah, courage can be a little trickier.
Yeah, it's a little more like
Abstract.
abstract.
Courage is about speaking up,
Okay,
even when it's uncomfortable,
right.
challenging bad behaviors,
Yeah.
challenging bad decisions, even if it means standing alone.
Right, it's easy to just
It is, yeah.
be quiet.
It's much easier to stay silent.
I
But
don't
that
know.
courage
Yeah.
is essential for a healthy team.
Okay. And then focus.
Focus.
Last one.
Yeah, focus is about keeping the team's goals
Okay.
front and center.
Right, right. There.
Because when conflict comes up,
It's easy to get lost in the drama.
right, exactly.
So by reminding them of their goals,
Okay.
we can help them stay focused.
It's like eyes on the prize.
Exactly. Keep your eyes on the prize.
So we've talked about understanding the root cause,
Yeah.
staying neutral, open communication,
Uh-huh.
those Scrum values.
These are so important.
Yeah, it's like we're building like a good,
A foundation for
Yeah.
handling conflict.
but what about like specific techniques?
Oh, I'm glad you asked.
Okay.
The guide has a really interesting approach.
Okay.
It suggests using workshops.
Workshops.
Yeah.
Like, okay,
Problem-solving workshops.
I like that.
Yeah, and they're designed to bring the team together
Okay.
in a structured environment
Like-
to analyze the conflict,
Okay.
identify root causes,
Okay.
and brainstorm solutions.
Like a dedicated space?
Yes, exactly.
To just tackle it head on.
Exactly. And it recommends specific tools
Okay.
like root cause analysis. Okay.
fishbone diagrams,
Oh.
things to help them systematically
Yeah.
break it down.
Okay, like detectives?
I love that analogy.
We've got our magnifying glasses.
Okay. Looking for clues.
This is cool,
It is.
but I'm starting to feel overwhelmed a little bit.
It's a lot to take in.
It is.
But the beauty of this guide
Yeah.
is that you don't have to do it all at once.
Okay.
You can pick and choose
Okay.
what works for you and your team.
So it's a journey.
It is a journey, not a destination.
Okay.
And you don't have to do it alone.
Right.
There are other Scrum Masters,
Okay.
workshops, conferences,
Right.
online communities,
Yeah.
lots of support out there.
Okay. That's good to know.
Yeah.
So we've got the root cause, staying neutral,
Right.
communication, the values, even these workshops.
Yes.
It's a lot, but it's good.
It's a lot,
Yeah.
but it's good stuff.
It's exciting.
It is.
Okay.
And remember, conflict, when handled well.
Can actually lead to growth
Okay.
and innovation.
I like that positive spin.
Yeah.
It's not some to be scared of.
Right. It's an opportunity.
But let's
Take a breath.
let's take a break
Yeah.
and we'll come back for part 2.
Sounds good. welcome back.
Right. So we talked about
Yeah.
knowing when to escalate,
Yes.
but I feel like we could use a little more on that.
Yeah.
Like when those little disagreements
Right.
turn into something bigger.
Yeah, those trickier situations.
How do we,
Yeah.
Scrum Masters, handle those?
The guide actually has some great insights on that.
Okay.
One thing it really emphasizes
Yeah.
is recognizing the difference
Okay.
between healthy debate
Uh-huh.
and destructive conflict.
Right. Because like
Yeah.
healthy debate can be good.
It can't. It's all about ideas, solutions.
Yeah.
You know, different perspectives are welcome.
Like that creative friction.
Exactly. That's what we want.
Yeah.
But then how do we know
When it crosses that line
Yeah.
into something destructive.
Yeah. When does it become bad?
Well, there are some signs
Okay.
when the focus shifts to personal attacks
Oh, okay.
or when communication breaks down
Right.
and people stop listening.
Okay.
That's when you know it's not healthy.
So then we know it's not productive anymore.
Right.
And we need to escalate.
Yes.
But I don't want to immediately go to senior
You
management,
don't want to jump the gun.
but I also don't want to let it fester.
Exactly. It's about finding that balance.
Yeah.
And the guide talks about escalation
Uh-huh.
as a strategic decision
Okay.
based on the severity.
Right.
And it suggests a tiered approach.
Oh, like levels.
Exactly, like levels of intervention.
Okay, so what are the levels?
So the first level
that?
is really about using the team's
Uh-huh.
self-organizing capabilities.
Okay, so they handle it.
Yeah, you facilitate a discussion,
Okay.
maybe use some conflict resolution frameworks.
Mhm. Or even a workshop.
Okay.
Help them see the negative impacts
Okay.
and guide them to their own solution.
So they own the solution.
Exactly. We want them to own it.
But what if that doesn't work?
Then the next tier
Okay.
might involve bringing in a third party,
Okay.
someone neutral, respected by the team.
Okay, so like from within the organization.
Yes, someone internal,
Right.
could be another Scrum Master,
Okay.
a senior developer, someone from the Agile coaching team.
So they can just kind of
Yeah, provide that unbiased perspective
right.
and help facilitate the conversation.
Okay, so like a mediator almost.
Exactly, like an internal mediator.
And if that doesn't work,
If that doesn't work,
is there another level?
there is
Right.
in extreme cases
Right.
where it's really impacting performance
Right.
or creating a hostile environment.
Okay.
The guide says to involve HR
Okay.
or senior management.
All right, so that's the last resort.
Yes, it should always be the last resort.
Okay, but at least I have like
Yeah.
a framework now.
You have a framework.
So I'm not just panicking
Exactly.
and calling the CEO right away.
We don't want that.
No. Okay.
And remember, the goal of escalation
Yeah.
isn't to punish anyone.
Right.
It's to provide support
Okay.
and resources to resolve the conflict.
Which reminds me of that idea of the Scrum Master as a
Yes.
model for
Right.
resolution.
It's so important.
Yeah, like it's one thing to talk about it.
It is,
But-
but we have to model it.
Yeah, like we have to actually do it.
Actions speak louder than words.
Right. Exactly.
So if we're telling the team to be respectful
yeah.
and then we interrupt them,
Right.
that's sending the wrong message.
Totally. So the guide talks about
It does.
emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
What does that actually mean?
Well, it's about being aware
Okay.
of your own emotions
Uh-huh.
and the emotions of everyone else.
Okay, so like
Yeah.
reading the room a little bit.
Exactly, reading
Right.
the room so you can respond calmly.
Even if I'm like freaking out
And
inside.
even if you're freaking out inside.
Okay, and then patience.
Oh, patience is so key.
Right, because sometimes it takes a while.
It does. Conflict resolution takes time.
Yeah.
People need to process, they need to express themselves.
Right.
And we can't rush that.
Okay, so no quick fixes.
No quick fixes.
Okay, you have to be patient.
Got it. And then that solution-oriented mindset.
Yes, that's about focusing on moving forward.
Okay.
Finding that win-win
Right.
where everyone feels heard
Okay.
and their needs are considered.
So it's not about
No,
who's right or wrong.
it's not about blame.
It's about
It's about finding a solution.
that works for everyone.
Exactly.
Okay, so we're basically turning conflict
Yeah,
into a problem-solving session.
exactly. Collaborative problem solving.
I like that.
And remember, the best solutions
Yeah.
often come from the team themselves.
Oh.
So as Scrum Masters,
Uh-huh.
we need to empower them.
To find those solutions.
This is all great,
It is.
but how do we create this
Yeah.
kind of conflict positive culture?
Right, because some teams are just more prone to conflict.
Exactly.
And the guide talks about
Okay.
proactive measures,
Okay.
specifically team building activities.
Okay. I'm listening.
They might seem like a fluffy extra,
Right.
but they can be so powerful
Okay.
for strengthening those bonds,
Yeah.
improving communication,
Right.
creating a more resilient environment.
So what kind of activities?
Well, the guide suggests a whole range
Okay.
from classic trust building
Uh-huh.
to more creative approaches.
Okay.
One great one is a team norms workshop.
Okay, with that.
It's where the team
Yeah.
defines their own ground rules
Say?
for communication and interaction.
Oh, so like their own
Yeah.
conflict playbook.
Exactly. Tailored to them.
I like that.
And by involving them,
Yeah.
you're fostering that ownership.
Makes sense. What else?
Well, it also suggests,
Collaborative problem-solving challenges,
okay.
like puzzles or tasks they have to do together.
Okay.
This builds communication skills
Right.
and helps them appreciate each other's strengths.
So finding those opportunities
Exactly.
to work together outside of the
Yes, outside the project pressure.
the regular projects. So
Yeah.
that could be like brainstorming,
It could.
volunteering, anything like that.
Anything that gets them collaborating.
Okay. And it doesn't have to be like this big elaborate thing.
It can be small. It could be regular.
Okay, like even
Yeah.
just starting a meeting with an icebreaker.
Exactly. Even something small like that.
Okay, I'm going to try that.
I think you'll be surprised
Yeah.
by the difference it makes.
But what about other
Yeah.
proactive things?
Well, one thing it emphasizes
All right.
is ongoing reflection
Yeah, okay.
and adaptation.
Right. So we're not just
This is
resolving.
Constantly learning
Okay.
and adapting.
So like that continuous improvement. Exactly, that continuous improvement loop.
But how do we reflect?
Well, the guide suggests
Yeah.
using the sprint retrospective,
Okay.
add specific questions.
Good.
Things like,
Yeah.
how well did we handle disagreements this sprint?
Okay.
What can we do to prevent similar conflicts?
So we're not just looking back.
No,
We're thinking ahead.
we're looking ahead. Exactly.
Okay. So we're really embedding this
Yes,
into the process.
that's the goal.
Instead of fearing it,
Right.
we're embracing it.
Exactly.
Okay. I like that.
It's a powerful shift.
So this has been
Yeah.
really insightful.
Good.
We've talked about escalation,
Mm.
modeling,
Mm-hmm.
team building, reflection.
It's a lot.
Yeah. I feel like I have a whole
Yeah.
new toolkit
You do.
for dealing with conflict.
And before we move on,
Yeah.
remember the human element.
Okay.
We're dealing with people,
Right.
different personalities, backgrounds.
Yeah.
We need empathy,
Okay.
understanding. That's essential.
Okay. I'm ready for part 3.
So we've talked about a lot of different tactics.
Yeah. We've covered a lot.
But there's one more concept I want to explore
Okay.
from the guide. It's called conflict transformation.
Okay. Conflict transformation.
Yeah.
What is that like turning it into?
Not quite rainbows and butterflies,
Okay.
but it's about shifting how we see conflict.
Right.
Instead of a problem,
Okay.
we see it as potential
Okay.
for growth and positive change.
So it's kind of like what we talked about before.
It is. It's taking that reframing
Right.
a step further.
But how do we actually do that?
Well, the guide gives us some steps.
Okay.
First, embrace curiosity.
Okay.
Don't react defensively.
Right.
Try to understand the other person's view.
Okay.
Ask open-ended questions. Really listen.
So instead of like,
Yeah.
why are you being difficult?
Right.
It's more like,
It's more like, help me understand
Oh.
where you're coming from.
okay, I like that.
It can make a big difference.
Yeah. It changes the whole.
Dynamic. And then the guide also says,
Yeah.
look for common ground.
Right. But how do we find that?
It takes effort.
Yeah.
Active listening, looking deeper.
Okay.
For example, let's say
Yeah.
we have two team members
Right.
arguing over a technical decision.
Right.
One wants a new framework, one wants the old.
Yeah. Classic.
But if you explore their motivations,
Okay.
maybe they both really care about quality.
Okay.
That shared goal becomes the bridge.
So we're like digging deep
Or
to find that connection. It's like we're conflict archaeologists
I love that.
uncovering those hidden treasures.
Yes, and remember,
Yeah.
it's not just about the resolution.
Okay.
It's about learning and growing from it.
So turning those lemons into lemonade.
Exactly.
All right. But how do we make sure it
Yeah.
actually leads to growth?
The guide highlights reflection.
Okay.
After it's resolved,
Uh-huh.
take time to review. What were the triggers? How did we respond?
So like what worked, what didn't?
Exactly. What can we improve?
Okay. That makes sense.
It helps us identify patterns, refine things.
Right. So it's that loop again.
Yes, the continuous improvement.
But isn't it hard to be objective
It can be,
after you've just like,
especially when emotions are still high.
yeah, exactly.
That's why you need a safe space
Right.
for open and honest reflection.
Right.
Encourage sharing, no judgment.
Okay.
Focus on lessons, not blame.
So we're not dwelling on the past.
No, we're learning from it.
Okay. I like that.
We're moving forward.
But what about when it's more personal.
Ah, yes, the interpersonal conflicts.
Yeah, like personality clash.
The guide acknowledges those.
Okay.
It's even more important then
Yeah.
to create that safe space.
Right, right.
Encourage empathy, understanding.
But what if they just don't get along?
You can't force people to like each other,
Right, exactly.
but you can help them understand
Okay.
each other's perspectives. Find ways to communicate better.
Okay.
One technique is focusing on shared goals.
So even if they don't like each other,
Right.
they can still agree on the project goal.
Exactly. Find that common purpose.
Yeah.
And sometimes just acknowledging the differences
Okay.
and setting boundaries
Right.
can make things better.
Okay, so like
Yeah.
you don't have to be friends,
Exactly.
but you got to work together.
Respect and productivity are key.
Okay, that's good.
And remember, we're not therapists.
Right, we're Scrum Masters.
If it's really deep personal issues, HR might be needed.
Okay.
Or professional mediation.
Right, we can't solve everything.
We can't, but we can support the team.
Okay, so this whole conflict transformation thing,
It's a powerful concept.
it is. It's really changed how I think about conflict.
I'm glad to hear that.
But before we wrap up,
Yeah.
what are your final thoughts?
On mastering conflict,
Yeah. What does it really mean?
it's not about being a superhero, making conflict disappear.
Right.
It's about building the mindset,
Okay.
the skills, the understanding
Yeah.
to navigate it effectively
Okay.
and turn it into something good.
I like that.
Creating that culture
Yeah.
where conflict is natural.
Right.
It's part of the process.
Yeah, it's not the enemy.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm feeling inspired to approach it with curiosity, empathy,
That's what we want.
yeah, and collaboration.
It's a journey, not a destination.
Right, right.
There will be bumps,
Yeah.
but embrace them as learning moments.
Okay.
Lean on your fellow Scrum Masters.
Right, we're not alone.
We're not alone in this.
This has been
Just a great.
deep dive.
I'm glad you think so.
I feel energized, ready to tackle those challenges.
That's fantastic.
And to our listeners,
Yes, to everyone listening.
you don't have to be perfect.
No one is perfect.
You just have to be willing to learn.
And grow and embrace the power of conflict.
Okay. That's it for this deep dive.
Until next time.
Keep learning, keep growing.
And keep mastering conflict.